What is going on, investors? Hopefully you guys are doing well out there. Time to talk about the Coca Cola company, ticker symbol KO. Year to date, this company is up 1.8%, but over the last year, this thing's up actually 21%. And when we get over to the stock chart on Coca Cola, this thing's in a very, very well-defined uptrend, and we will talk about it. Can this one continue its uptrend? How high can Coca-Cola stock go? Now, tell you what, speaking of high, these earnings were absolutely phenomenal over at Coca-Cola. The headline reads earnings smasher, and I'm going to try to keep my excitement intact. Guys, this is one of the best financial reports I've ever seen out of Coca-Cola. I'm not going to waste any of your time. We're going to jump right into them. They're that great. Now, we've got our 3 months ended here with Coca-Cola. We've got our net operating revenues here on the top. The left-hand column is our most recent quarter. The right-hand column is last year on a quarterly basis. And the far right-hand column is our percent change. Guys, net operating revenues here went from $7.15 billion up to $10.13 billion. Hello, that is 42% growth. 42% revenue growth at Coca-Cola. No, this is not Neo. This is not Tesla. This is not Facebook. This is not any of the high-flying stocks that people have fallen in love with over on Robinhood or Wall Street Bets. Guys, this is Coca-Cola, one of the blue chips of blue chip stocks out there. Like your grandpa's blue chip growth stock is up 42% over the last year. Hello, that is absolutely phenomenal. Now, take a look. Our cost of goods sold only went up 26%, so you better believe a ton of this money is going to flow down to our operating income. So we've got our gross profit here. After you minus revenue minus cost of goods sold, you get gross profit from $4.1 billion up to $6.3 billion. That is 53% growth on gross profit. Now, we have some selling general administrative expenses. Those are up quite a bit, so it looks like they spent a lot more on that during the most recent quarter. You went from about $2 billion up to $3 billion on that one. So that gets us down to operating income at $3 billion. $3 billion. Where were we last year? $2 billion. That is 52% growth. Again, this is not Facebook. This is not Tesla. This is not Apple after they release a phone. This is Coca-Cola growing their operating income 52% year over year. Shall we say that this stock, I know it's been on a monster move, but these types of results could mean that it is even more undervalued than it potentially already is. Now, we've got to pay some interest. We've got to pay some taxes and those types of things. That gets us all the way down to the net income. We'll come all the way down to this number. I know we've got a couple double lines on here, but we'll come all the way down to this one. $2.6 billion on the net income side. That is up 48% over last year. Now we come down here. Now we've got 6 months ended. So what I just showed you for 3 months ended, this is the exact same thing, but just for 6 months. So I kind of want to see, like, what is last quarter? Is it a sign of things to come? Is it just one of the best quarters they ever had? Let's compare it for 6 months. We see here still strong revenue growth. Okay, it's not like 40 or 50% like we just saw on a quarterly basis, but for the last 6 months, 22% growth on that operating income from $15.75 billion up to about $19.2 billion. Guys, that is really, really strong over at Coca-Cola. We'll come down here to operating income. We're seeing that's growing 32% from $4.3 billion up to $5.7 billion. Again, I can't stress this enough. This is not a tech company. This is not one of these high-flying companies that are borrowing tons of money to kind of, build up in it like a virgin snow industry. This is like old school soda pop right here, growing 32% operating income over the last 6 months. We see here our net income paints a little bit different story, up 7%, a little bit more consistent over the last 6 months or so. Now we've got our balance sheet here. We've got the end of the year, or really the beginning of this year in 6 months to July. We see our cash equivalents ticked up. You'd expect after a quarter they just had where they printed so much net income, you'd expect this cash and cash equivalent to tick up, and that's exactly what happened. We see our total assets went from about 87 up to 90 billion over the last 6 months or so. Now, liabilities Are they borrowing money? What's going on over here? Now, look, loans payable went down a little bit over the last year. So they're paying over the last 6 months. So they're paying down their debt. Their long-term debt ticked down a little bit. All things being considered, things are looking good from a balance sheet perspective. Now, over to cash flows, what I do know, this is for 6 months. So we pull down that $4.8 billion of net income. They don't have a lot here. Okay. I'm surprised they don't have more depreciation, but their bottling is outsourced for the most part over at Coca Cola, and a lot of their distribution as well. And so they don't add back a lot of stuff. So net cash provided by operating activities, look, $5.5 billion. Last year we were sitting at $2.7 billion. Now we've got our net cash provided by investing activities. That actually ticked up as well. Looks like they divested in some businesses as well, got some money from that. Now let's take a look at our investing activities. Okay, issuance of debt. They did issue $10.75 billion. Last year we were sitting at 19.7. Now they paid down 11.9 or $12 billion. So they basically did a refinance. They issued some more debt, probably at a lower interest rate. They paid off, I would guess, debt at a higher interest rate. And that is very, very nice. Now they paid $3.6 billion worth of dividends in the most recent 6 months as well. Guys, this is just a fantastic quarter from Coca-Cola, and they have been rewarded. Look, investors have kind of been anticipating this because you've seen this stock has been on a monster move really for a while now. Okay, this is back in 2020, and obviously we're sitting in 2021. So really over the last year, this stock has been just steadily churning up. Now, we have not gotten above the highs that we were making pre-virus, okay? That is up at about $60 per share. We're only about $3 or $4 away from that, and that's really where you're looking for Coca-Cola to go to. Now, in the shorter term, we have peaked up here, okay? And we've peaked up and maybe a little bit too quick. We're giving back a little bit of the gain a little bit today. The stock is up 1.23%, but it was up much higher than that on the backs of these numbers because, as I talked about, these are like tech-like growth from an operating perspective, from a revenue perspective. This is tech-like growth that we're seeing out of Coca-Cola. The market reacted very nice. Now it pulled back. I would not be concerned at all with this one in the intermediate term. Even a pullback, another $1.50 on this one, pulling back to this level right at around $55 per share, wouldn't actually be concerned at all. That our uptrend would still be intact. I wouldn't want to see this one get below 54. You get below $54 per share on this one, it would take out these lows here, and it would basically break our uptrend, at least in the shorter to intermediate term. I would expect this one to pull back, maybe pull back in here to 56, maybe even $55 per share, but maybe continue churning higher. I have a feeling this one wants to come back up here and retest this $60 mark, these all-time highs, or at least these pre-virus highs with Coca-Cola. That's what I would expect, because look, this one pays a 3% yield. I just did a video on Verizon. It pays a 4% yield, but the financials are nowhere near as good as Coca-Cola from a debt perspective, from a balance sheet perspective, and nowhere even close from a revenue growth perspective and a net income perspective. I'd much, much rather own a company like Coca-Cola at a 1% less dividend yield than a company like Verizon, because Coca-Cola is giving us capital appreciation. The chart looks absolutely fantastic. It looks like it wants to pull back a little bit, but I would fully expect a bounce somewhere in this range and this stock to continue to move higher, just like we've seen with Pepsi, another video that I've posted recently as well. Guys, pat yourself on the back if you've been long Coca-Cola. I'd hold ship on this one. This one looks fantastic. These numbers are some of the best I've ever seen. One of the very first videos I actually did on this channel was Coca-Cola. So and this was years ago. I'm intimately aware of this company, and 42% growth on the revenue, 53% on the gross profit side, and 52% growth on the operating side. It doesn't get any better than this. I don't care, not only for Coca-Cola, but for the entire stock market. If Coca-Cola can follow up the next quarter, not necessarily this good, but in this ballpark, this stock is very, very much undervalued because these are some of the best numbers I have ever seen. Hopefully, you guys have a great day out there and enjoy the rest of your day. We'll be back with more videos soon. Good luck with your investments.